Awesome. I am live. Congratulations. Thank you for joining me and making it into another Sunday. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Tonight there's something that's been on my mind. It started as I tried to write my email for today. I write those new every day. I don't typically copy something that I've written, and believe me, I've written enough that I would never have to create something new if I didn't want to. But I feel it important enough that each of these that somebody cares enough to subscribe to the YouTube channel and then subscribe to the daily email. I think it's important that I provide them with something worth reading, not just a waste of time. I would like to see clicks on the links and people buy all the wonderful things that I've produced, but I think sometimes it's more important that the things that I say, if someone's taking the time to spend a moment with me, that it should be one of quality, not some kind of mass-produced nonsense. So as we build this, as I've built this over the years, I've done a lot of things. Today's campaign was a simple one. And there's a scene described in the Havamal, a book of the Poetic Edda. Some of you will know it, some of you won't. Whereby a primary deity, Odin, is hanging upon a tree for 9 days and 9 nights, pierced in the side by a spear, no one there to offer him bread or water. And when he is half dead from the exposure of it, he proclaims that he hears the song of his ancestors, all of those who have come before him. Thereupon he falls or is cut down, and as he falls, he screams, and he lands upon the runes. And they're the crystalline knowledge of the ancestors, and it's a powerful scene. The power of it cannot be minimized in the fact that it's been repeated throughout history and religions. Osiris, an Egyptian, Ethiopian, Sudanese god, said to have been crucified. He died and was resurrected, they say 5,000 years before Jesus. Horus, another Egyptian deity, said to have been crucified and died 3,000 years before Jesus. Buddha, an Indian god, said to have been crucified, died, and resurrected. Krishna, another Indian god, crucified, died, resurrected. Zarathustra, an Iranian god, died, crucified, died, and resurrected. Hercules, crucified, died, and resurrected. Mithra, crucified, died, and resurrected. Dionysus, a Greek god, said to have been crucified, died, and resurrected. Thammuz, a Babylonian god, died, crucified, died, and resurrected. Hermes, crucified, died, and resurrected. Adonis, a Phoenician god, crucified, died, and resurrected. The lesson is not that a deity conquers the idea of death, nor is it that we will, after a fashion, also be responsible for killing our ego to become something more. Though both are very much worthy of consideration, both lessons are certainly apt in today's world. But I would submit to you that it is during the toughest of times, when the very essence of our being is shaped, formed, and honed, or perhaps as we perceive it, broken with jagged edges, that we utilize hope, not when times are good. There's no need of such things. Our lives seem complete, full, and happy. We are content to trudge the road to happy destiny, smiles upon our faces. These mighty examples that the divine have offered us time and again and again are just that. Examples that we too can make it through, even though we feel like we want to die. That we are alone and that there is no one to help. That we thirst and hunger for anything that might strengthen our bodies. I've walked that path briefly. Every man has at some point. Every woman has at some point. And it doesn't matter if it's a day, a month, or a year. This is when we carefully listen for some remembrance of our past. That whisper to ourselves of a teaching, be it divine or otherwise, something, anything to believe in when the chips are down, that these good times are the furrows in which we lay the seeds of hope for ourselves and our future. All of the deities and all of your ancestors built themselves into beings capable of dealing with the ups and downs of life. And I think sometimes we forget. I think sometimes I take these things for granted, that all is well. The lesson is from all those teachings is that that this is when we should be working the hardest. That right now is when we should be focusing on the most difficult aspects, hey, of all of those things that we know to be shortcomings, we know that have caused us failure in the past. Odin didn't get the full effect of it. I'm not sure he should be included in that list. See, a father still has work to do. A father doesn't get to check out. A father still has things that he must accomplish. So he takes as much of the information as he can possibly stand. He pushes himself as far as he can possibly go to gather as much knowledge for his children so that when they have to go through something, they can go through it with all of the pomp and circumstance and the courage and the knowledge. And then when their chips are down, they have something to believe in. It's an interesting thing. The death of Baldur is that time of year, isn't it? When the sun is shortest and the sun goes down at 4 in the afternoon. The nights are long. The death of the sun. I'm going to read a little bit about and expand and expound upon this. And we have to think about this son of Odin and Frigg, Baldur, in whose home the fewest baleful wounds lie, and whose son Forseti becomes the god of justice, not Tyr. Forseti, the grandson of Odin and Frigga. A concept so valuable to any functioning society, we cannot overstate its importance, and that it be the foundation of which be cemented in faith of some kind. But when Loki Laufeyson saw this, it pleased him ill that Baldur took no hurt. He got a case of the ass about it, as does every man's ego when somebody does something better than they. It is a sign of true humility to see someone achieve something great and support them instead of harbor resentment and jealousy. But the ego is a prime example of that. I could do that. I could run this company if they just let me in charge. I bet you couldn't do shit. But Loki got a case of the ass about it when he saw that Baldur took no hurt. He went to Fensalir, to Frigg, right? Her home is Fensalir, the Finn's Hof, and made himself into the likeness of a woman. So not only is he upset about it, now he's going to pretend to be something he's not, as the ego is wont to make men do. Something that I am not, to get some information that I am not worthy to own. Then Frigg asked if that woman knew what the Aesir did at the thing. She said that all were shooting at Baldur, and moreover, that he took no hurt. Then said Frigg, neither weapons nor trees may hurt Baldur. I have taken oaths of them all, as a mother is wont to do, to protect her son. All of us have seen the windowsill boys. Well, we're outside playing and getting hurt and breaking things and scraping and fighting and fussing and playing football and just generally being as destructive as young boys are supposed to be. There's always some boy in the neighborhood that, well, he's sitting in the house because his mama doesn't want him to go outside and get hurt. Doesn't really do him any favors, does it? She took oaths from all of the things that they wouldn't hurt him, except for mistletoe. The state flower of Oklahoma. That is a place that will make you a man, that's for damn sure. I thought it too young to ask the oath of. Then straightway the woman turned, but Loki took mistletoe and pulled it up and went to the thing. And Hoder stood outside the ring of men because he was blind. Then Loki spake to him, Why dost thou not shoot at Baldur? He answered, Because I see not where he is. And for this also that I am weaponless. Then Loki said, Do thou also after the manner of other men, and show Baldur honor as the other men do. I will direct thee where he stands, and shoot at him with this wand. Hoder took the mistletoe and shot at Baldur, being guided by Loki. The shaft flew through Baldur, and he fell dead to the earth. And that was the greatest mischance that has ever befallen among gods and men. I want you to notice the parallels there. And I have sometimes contended that Loki represents the Pope to those that stand at the edge of the crowd and voice their opinion at those in the center of it, voice their opinion at the man in the arena as the critic. And it's not the critic that counts, as Teddy Roosevelt so aptly points out to us. Take a shot. I know of another situation where a couple of men took a shot at a Jewish talk show host and considered it to be a most worshipful thing. What a fucking fraud that was. This is the act of the uninspired ego, the uninspired human intellect, doing its best to take that which it thinks it deserves because it's somebody else is getting all the attention and not me. So they take a shot. And others are encouraging them to do it and call it a most worshipful thing. Then when Baldur was fallen, words failed all the Aesir, and their hands likewise lay hold of him. They stood there, their jaws slack and agape. Each looked at the other, and all were of one mind as to him who had wrought the work, but none might take vengeance. So great a sanctuary was in that place. But when the Aesir tried to speak, it befell first that weeping broke out, so that none might speak to the others with words concerning his grief. But Odin bore that misfortune by so much the worst, as he had most perception of how great harm and loss for the Aesir were in the death of Baldur. Everything's going to change. A life has been shed. Someone told somebody else that it will be a most worshipful thing if you take this shot. The blind, the crippled, the homeless at the edge of the crowd. Take the shot at the rich because they're undeserving. Tax them more because it will be a most worshipful thing. Meanwhile, all those that are a part of it, what do we do now? We've lost the best and brightest of who and what we are. What a great loss for the Aesir. Now, when the gods had come to themselves, Frigg spake, this is his mother, and asked who there might be among the Aesir who would fain have for all his own all her love and favor. Let him ride the road to hell and seek if he may find. She will let Baldur come home to Asgard. And he is named Hermod the Bold, Odin's son, who undertook that embassy. This is the love of a brother. And there are many men that would live up to that. Men that have served on the battlefield, men that have worked those hardest of jobs on ships, crab fishing, tower climbing, welders, in prison. Those men that would stand up for their brother. See, that's what it means when somebody calls you brother, that you're willing to do that, to go to that fucking length, to ride that road to hell. Sleipnir was taken, Odin's steed, and led forward, and Hermod mounted on that horse and galloped off. The Aesir took the body of Baldur and brought it to the sea. Hringhorni is the name of Baldur's ship, and it is the greatest of all ships. It means a circle in the middle. The gods would have launched it and made Baldur's funeral pyre thereon, but the ship stirred not. And then word was sent to Jotunheim after that giantess, who was called Herakin. And when she had come riding a wolf and having a viper for a bridle, then she leaped off the steed, and Odin called to 4 berserks to tend the steed, but they were not able to hold it until they felled it. So the wolf got to act on the ass, and the berserkers ended its life. Right? As such savage things should be. You cannot tame the wolf. You cannot tame that animal. No matter if you are berserk, your chances are to kill it. Then Herakin went to the prow of the boat and thrust it out at the first push, so that fire burst from the rollers and all lands trembled. We noticed that we have lost something special. Fire and smoke and the trembling of land, things are changing in the world. Thor became angry, the warrior of men, and clutched his hammer and would straightway have broken her head had not the gods prayed for peace for her. Sometimes a little common sense in certain situations goes a long way. But being one of those men that's hot-headed like that, yeah, it takes a minute. Then was the body of Baldur borne out on the shipboard, and when his wife Nanna, the daughter of Net, saw that, straightway Her heart burst with grief, and she died and was borne to the pyre, and the fire was kindled. I want you to imagine that. I want you to imagine this son of Odin and Frigg and the daughter of Nep, the daughter of Night, sister of the earth. This very great, wonderful woman who had such a relationship with her husband that she knew. As times in the old war, I'm sure that such men were rare, and I think they're even rarer today. Men that are worthy of such remorse that their heart would burst with grief. To journey with them with a bond so powerful that your partner would journey to the next life with you, to the next adventure, to the next whatever the fuck may come. That ride or die takes on a whole new mentality with her. Odin and Frigg bore a son, Baldur, the brightest of the Aesir, in whose home the fewest baleful runes lie, and had a wife, and their son was such a son that he is the foundation of justice. That concept that every man has a fair chance if he's doing the right thing to begin with. These are deep and powerful concepts to consider. See, because what's happening here is the son is following in the footsteps of the father. Odin hung on that tree for 9 days and 9 nights, pierced in the side by his own spear. Dionysus, there are images of him being crucified. There are images of deities being crucified were so prominent in the pagan world that the church, for the first 600 years of its existence, would not use the cross as a symbol. It was the fish, not the cross. Foundational fathers of the church railed against the adoption of the cross as it was such a pagan symbol. Now look at it. When I see people tout their opinion about the Vegvisir or the Helm of All, I laugh. I don't know what it might have meant when somebody wrote it, but I can tell you exactly what it means right now. Such is the way of things. This is how symbols are adopted. This is how things become. I would submit to you that they should probably learn how to deal with it. Quit whining about it. Then Thor stood by and hollowed the pyre with Mjolnir, and before his feet ran a certain dwarf which was named Leader. Thor kicked at him with his foot and thrust him into the fire, and he burned. That's proper sacrifice. And people of many races visited this burning. First is to be the tale of how Frigg and the Valkyries went with him and his ravens. I want you to pay very close attention to the fact that this father attended the funeral of his son with his partner and was surrounded by these women of death and his ravens' thought and memory. A powerful feminine aspect attends this god that is the Lord of Asgard. Frey drove in his chariot with the boar called Goldmane or Fearful Tusk, that great boar that leads the war wagon of Frey. And Heimdall rode the horse called Goldtop, and Freya drove her cats. All of these great deities show up in the finest of pomp and circumstance to pay honor, respect, and tribute to Baldur as he begins a new journey. Thither came also people of the Rime giants and the hill giants, because even the simplest of people understand what we've lost. Odin laid on the pyre that gold ring which is called Draupnir. The quality attended it that every 9th night there dropped from it another 8 gold rings of equal weight. Baldur's horse was also led to the balefire with all his trappings. Now this is to be told concerning Hermod, that he rode 9 nights through the dark dales and deep, so that he saw not before he was come to the river Gjöll, and upon the Gjöll bridge, which is thatched with glittering gold. Maudgerd is the maiden called who guards the bridge. As the Nile represents the Milky Way in the night sky, so too the river Gjöll with its thatched glittering gold bridge represents that river of life. And that to cross it means to live in another way. She asked his name and race, saying that the day before they had ridden over the bridge 5 companies of dead men, but the bridge thunders no less under thee alone. Thou hast not the color of dead men. We carry the weight of living. It is a blessing, a burden, it is a challenge, it is life. And it has weight and meaning. Why ridest thou hither on hellway? Why are we seeking the dead? Why do we seek these answers from those who have gone on before? I am appointed to ride to hell to seek out Baldur. Hast thou perchance seen Baldur on Hellway? She said that Baldur had ridden there over Gil's Bridge, but down in north lieth Hellway. Then Hermod rode on till he came to the Hell Gate. He dismounted from his steed and made his girths fast, mounted and pricked him with his spurs, and the steed leaped so hard over the gate that it came nowise near to it. Then Hermod rode home to the hall and dismounted from his steed, went into the hall, and saw sitting in there in the high seat Baldur, his brother. Odin stopped short of making that transition over the Gjöll Bridge, over the river of life, Gjöll. Now, Gjöll probably means something much different than river of life, but symbolically, great rivers are important throughout the world. The Mississippi, the Nile, the Ganges, not the yellow. All of them are important. Congo, the Amazon, all of those great rivers, they're ebbing and flowing, they're flooding and they're receding. And the stars that shine above them are always the pathway for souls to enter the next world. It's no different here, but it's only one little paragraph. But here his brother comes. And finds his brother sitting in the high seat. Everybody's worried about him. Odin fell short of that journey. He stopped. He stopped with just enough information to keep the world going in the fashion he saw best that it should go, right? But he also understood that change is inevitable. But as fathers, we all hope that the pain of such change doesn't fall upon the shoulders of our sons or our grandsons, for that matter. And we make great sacrifices and we believe it measures up. And then it comes to the day that no, they still have to go through that. And all we can do is guide them with a wise and loving hand. Hopefully, they've been the good enough men that they have a brother who's willing to ride after them and a woman to stand beside them. Holy shit. Life becomes a hell of a lot clearer. To have a brother that will come after you and a woman to stand beside you. What greater blessing could you offer a man? What greater blessing could you offer a woman to have a man worth that? What greater blessing could there be to a man to have that brother? Wouldn't that be a far more important lesson to learn? And yet Baldur sits there in hell in the high seat where literally trillions of thoughts and actions and ideas of millions, if not billions, if not trillions of souls that have passed on before have made and are collected in this great realm that the goddess Hell rules over and shares with those who are worthy. The sun-facing goddess, the goddess that stands at the entrance to the burial mound and welcomes those souls. Not the left side or the right side, but the back half of her is what's all dark and mysterious, that thing of the earth and the dark and the unknown. While the front half of her is beautiful and shining and radiant in the sun. To be welcomed by that. I am appointed, let's see here. Hermod tarried there overnight. That morning, Hermod prayed Hel that Baldur might ride home with him, and told her how great weeping was among the Aesir. But Hel said that in this wise it should be put to the test, whether Baldur were so all beloved as had been said, if all things in the world, quick and dead, weep for him, then he shall go back to the Aesir. But he shall remain with Hel if any gainsay it or will not weep. That goddess that has all of that cumulative knowledge understands that if one person doesn't weep, then the world isn't ready for the benefit of his return. And you look at the other deaths and resurrections, each time they go for 3 days down to the underworld where they face temptation and they deal with these same kind of things. It's not they're not, and never in those cases do I see them ask if the world is ready. I see them ask if the man is ready, if the deity is ready. And therein also lies an important lesson that we have to face when we're put to the test in these situations. Are we ready? Are we competent, capable? Are we made of the stuff that would leap the gates of hell itself to see how a brother does? So hell knows this. Hell knows that it will probably all have to be destroyed before he can return to a world that is ready for what he is offering. All of that knowledge he will carry with him as he returns. If all things in the world, quick and dead, weep for him, then he shall go back to the Aesir, but he shall remain with hell if any gainsay it or will not weep. And it's the ego, the uninspired human intellect, that prevents that. Baldur led him out of the hall and took the ring Draupnir and sent it to Odin for remembrance. So the father offered his wealth to his son for his new journey, but the son in his wisdom, having already touched some of those trillions of thoughts, understands Odin needs it more than he does. He will build his own future, minus the wealth of his father, something I personally had to learn. Still pisses me off. And Nana sent Frigg, this is an important consideration here, Nana sent Frigg a linen smock and yet more gifts, and to Fulla a golden finger ring. Every young man, when he ventures forth from the home to become a dragon slayer, to become that hero, to step forward to becoming a man, he wears the homespun smock of his mother. His mom makes him something special to step out into the world with, right? It is full of her tears and her energy and the blood from her fingers as she's woven this smock, or however it has to happen, calluses and skin, and the very essence of his mother is there in that smock as he goes out to become a man. And when he becomes partner with a woman, that smock no longer has a place there. And so Nana sends Frigg the linen smock. And this is a sign from the daughter-in-law to the mother that, yes, your son is now a worthy man. And yet more gifts. And to Fulla, a golden finger ring. Every young woman is full of doubt as to the future. Will I be woman enough? Will my man love me? How will I raise a baby? Can I cook a meal? How do I do all of this? How do I be like mom? And she has a big sister. Hopefully she has a big sister that can provide that kind of inspiration to her. And in this situation, this big sister sends back to Fulla a golden finger ring to remind her, yes, honey, you can do it too. They sent it all over the world, and everyone wept, except for one. Thok will weep waterless tears for Baldur's balefire, living or dead. I loved not the curl son, let hell hold what she hath. And men deem that she who was there was Loki Laufeyson, who hath wrought most ill among the Aesir. This is an important thing. This is probably one of the most powerful tales that we can look at least for me it is. There's so much depth and so much covered in this tale that it's hard to not read the story a dozen times and have a dozen different ideas fall upon your thought process. See, that's where our inspiration comes from and our imagination, not a collection of memories repasted together in some certain way based on all of our experiences, but that true idea of inspiration, of the aha moment, how it all clicks together, or that aha moment of something I've never thought before. The artist understands this as they create something special and new, as they create an image in their own thoughts, something that's never existed before, that we look at and say, oh, no shit. These are the many things that I see and I think of when I read this tale. And as the days get shorter, and the nights grow longer, absolutely it does. And some of us are in tough times. Some people are in tough times. Some people are dealing with things that we're not really sure what it's supposed to be. There's just some kind of nagging undercurrent And we think, well, this will be better, and this will be better, and this will be better when, and this will be better how, and this will be accomplished if. Now is the time when we seem to understand all of the simple things in life, that we solidify and create that foundation so we have something sturdy to step upon as we tackle, in no uncertain terms, that long ride through the dark depths to hear those thoughts and songs of our ancestors, to have that idea of hope, to understand that example that some deity set an example, not that they would do it for us so we don't have to, but that yes, you do have what it takes. And here are all of the works that I did to prepare myself for this moment. Hercules had 12 labors. Each one of them means something. It's important to note all of those things. And all of those deities tell us the same thing. And that's just in a small region of the world. The same thing can be said in Africa, in North America, and South America, and Australia, and in the Far East. That same tale is told, and not because there was some unifying culture that demanded it, not because some unifying culture brought it all together, but because we as humans have shit we've got to figure out. If we're to take the next great step into what our cultures and our ideas ought to be, until we begin to pay attention to those ancient tales, we will continually be wrapped up in dipshit wars so other people can make money. And we will continually have to be dealing with the idea of a sacrificed son. Though Christianity may think that it has come in and Jesus died for your sins, you no longer have to sacrifice your children anymore, we are still sacrificing our children daily to the pressures of society, drug abuse, alcoholism, prison, war, violence in the streets, because we as a people have not yet learned to harness or take control of or get rid of our ego, because, well, I gotta have something to believe in, don't I? I need to feel like I'm a little bit important. Fucking fat of a lot of good that's going to do you when your kid dies. I hate to be so crass about it, but tonight I know that there are people who are missing their loved ones, and I hope that somewhere in their life, somewhere along the way, they picked up those kind of friends to help them make it through. Thank you all for joining in tonight. Tomorrow is Monday. Grab it by the nose and whip its ass.